What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Tuesday. DK Show up on the air on your radio dials at 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available online, sportstalk1051.com. Stream it up over there. You've got your smart devices, smart speakers, the Sports Talk app. Download it, take it on the go. Video. Ah. What up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Appreciate you making us a part of your start if you're already up and at it and ready to go here for the day. What do we got on a good old game plan for us this morning? Brew Crew picking up a win last night against the Philadelphia Phillies, 6-2. Total team effort last night, but the magic number now down to 2. And the Brewers potentially could win the division tonight if they get a win and the Cubs lose to the A's. But the Brewers cutting down that magic number last night with their 6-2 victory. You had Aaron Savali picking up the win, going 5 innings, picking up his 7th win of the season. I want to talk a little bit about Aaron Savali too, just kind of the run he has been on here lately. That's going up here in just a little bit. But Colin Ray even coming out of the bullpen and giving the team 2 2/3 of work, 2 2/3 of an innings of work, and picking up his first career save. Kind of all hands on deck with this stretch of games that the Brewers have been on since back on September 10th, a week ago today. No off days, not another off day until next Monday. So it's kind of all hands on deck, who's available, who can help out and such. And Colin Ray doing just that last night for the Brewers. But you had some timely hitting. Contreras opening up things with a couple RBIs right away. You had even Terang at the bottom lineup collecting a couple of hits to Sal Frelick with that triple to get Hoskins into. So Brewers, timely hitting, some solid defense. Frelick early in the game. Nice assist from right field to third base to get the guy out of there over there with the perfect tag by Ortiz. So good game, fun game if you weren't able to watch or listen to the game last night. But they'll be back at it tonight. Game 2 of this series. Frankie Montas is going to be on the mound for the Brewers. Zach Wheeler going to get the start for the Philadelphia Phillies. Frankie Montas, 7-10 so far this year. Zach Wheeler, 15-6. 15-6. We'll preview this matchup, preview this game, recap this game. Coming up here in just a little bit, as I mentioned just a couple minutes ago, I want to talk a little bit about Aaron Savali, and I think kind of maybe flying under the radar a little bit in terms of how well he's pitching lately. Some interesting numbers to throw out there. So talk about that, as I said, coming up here in just a little bit. It is an Analyze That Tuesday. Analyze That Tuesday during the football season. Going to start something a little bit new here and such. But so yesterday, late afternoon and such, rewatched the Packer game, take the fanism out of it. Wanted to kind of like watch it and the way I can rewind, watch something, watch different players, that sort of stuff. And there was a couple things I really wanted to hone in on the defensive play yesterday because yesterday, Monday morning, we're all focusing on what the offense did and what Matt LaFleur, the game plan, and the running attack and Malik Willis and such. But I wanted to really kind of focus in on the defense and kind of analyze and dissect and see what was going on. There was a couple players I really kind of want to focus on because we really maybe not have heard too much about him. One of them was Kenny Clark. And I kind of wanted to see what was going on with Kenny Clark. How were they using him? Because you're not hearing his name quite a bit. But I wanted to kind of focus on that, see what was kind of going on there. And a couple things kind of jumped out to me yesterday, rewatching that game and kind of focusing on on the defensive side there a little bit. So that we're gonna hit that up coming up a little bit later on in a new segment we like to call Analyze That. It is speaking of which, though, too, Matt LaFleur did talk to the media yesterday in his day after presser. Couple of notes. He said ideally Jordan Love, if he were to play this weekend, he'd like to see him or would like to get him to practice a little bit, but not a prerequisite. It's not a prerequisite. So, but I was our good buddy Rob Demoski saw yesterday too. He had noted that he had heard that last week this whole thing about Jordan Love, could he play? Listening to his questionable. It wasn't a charade. It was he what from what he had heard, he was close. That Jordan Love was close to playing in the game on Sunday. So don't know if that means that we're going to get him against Tennessee on the road against a Tennessee team that's probably a little desperate right now, 0-2 to begin their season with a new head coach and such. But we'll see. Matt LaFleur, a couple other things from his presser yesterday, was asked about Braden Narvison, their new kicker. He said he's willing to be patient with him. Said ultimately it is Goody's decision. Heading into last night's game and such, Braden Narvison was one of two kickers in the entire league to miss multiple field goals. Think about that. There's only two kickers in 2 weeks that have missed multiple field goals. One of them is Justin Tucker, who has missed from 53 and 56. Narvison is the other one who has missed both of his from 43. That's according to Matt Schneidman, who covers the Packers through the Athletic too. So, but we'll talk a little football. Do a little analyze that coming up here in just a little bit. Just a couple things that I really noticed rewatching the game yesterday afternoon. So we're gonna put on our scouting caps there. What else do we got on the docket here? We're going to talk some Badgers with Mr. RJ Cardinal, our good buddy, Mr. Colton Bartholomew, who we had on last week. First reported it yesterday, but probably no big surprise. Tyler Van Dyke, his season is done. Suffered a significant injury against Alabama, that knee injury, and his season is now over with. And it might be the end of his college career too. Although we've seen in college, there's some dudes that go to their 7th year and such. So, but the Badgers will have the off week this week to prepare for USC and Braden Locke and such. So we'll talk a little bit about that with Mr. RJ Cardinal coming up in a couple hours from now, about 8:20 this morning. We'll talk Braden Locke and talk about the Badgers and really now, I mean, I'll ask you, Badger fans, what are your expectations now, or what are you going to be watching for the rest of this season after winning your first two, but maybe not by convincing margins, and then getting blown out by Alabama? Now your starting quarterback's done for the year. What's your expectations? What's your goals? What do you want to see for the rest of the season here? So let me know. Hit me up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. 715-830-1912. You can also hit me up on the video stream if you'd like comments over there too. So Badger Chat coming up in a little about 8 in the 8 o'clock hour there. It is a Grind My Gears Tuesday. So today is the only day you can get something off your chest, something bugging you. Got a pet peeve going on now that football season is officially underway here. And you wanna let others know about it. You wanna let people know about it. Well, now's your time for a little ASAP Used Auto Parts Grind My Gears Tuesday. ASAP Used Auto Parts, your go-to place for any of your oil changes, getting some new tires for the upcoming winter season and such. Or if you're looking to save some money on some high-quality used auto parts, ASAP Used Auto Parts is your go-to location over there. Hit us up with those grind or what's grinding your gears here this morning. So we got that too. But I want to begin this morning talking chatting some baseball. Things getting a little interesting here, not only just for the Brewers, but maybe across both leagues here. The Twins fell to the Guardians last night. And don't look now, but the Tigers are just 1.5 back. 1.5 back from that final wild card spot that is currently being held by the Minnesota Twins. Maybe things getting a little bit interesting here in that AL, that American League chase. Because, I mean, the Yankees leading there's the Guardians. Yankees and Guardians both have 87 wins. Yankees have one fewer loss, 63 compared to the Guardians, 64. The Baltimore Orioles are still a couple games back, but they're holding on to that top spot as for a wild card. Houston's still leading their division. Kansas City's holding on to that 2 spot in the wild card chase, but Minnesota just holding on. Then you got Seattle, who's 2 games back. They've won their last 3. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games. So Minnesota 3-7 in their last 10, and maybe opening the door here a little bit for the Tigers or for the Mariners to get up there. Although, even though Minnesota's going up against Cleveland, tough series. Detroit's taking on Kansas City, and the Mariners taking on the Yankees too. And as we mentioned, National League-wise, Philly's still holding on to that top spot. Dodgers second, Brewers third. Brewers' magic number to clinch is 2. They could do that tonight if they get a little help and take care of their business. Padres holding on to that top spot for the wild card. You got the Diamondbacks and now the Mets, 1 up over the Atlanta Braves. And that's still a race to kind of pay attention to, Brewers fans. If the Brewers do, in fact, get that 3rd seed, they'll be going up against that 6th seed, which is the final wild card spot. Right now, it could be the Mets or the Braves. So let's talk some baseball. I want to talk about that Brewers win from last night and look ahead to hopefully another win tonight against the Philadelphia Phillies. I want to talk a little Aaron Civale and kind of give you a little impression maybe just how well he's pitching. I think it's kind of flying under the radar a bit. So first break, then we'll get the leadoff going here. Coming up after these quick words. What's on your mind? Hit me up with a text, all right? I want to talk to you this morning. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. With hunting season officially here, bow season, and some other seasons going on here, maybe it's got you wishing, thinking, you know what? I would like to have my own hunting land, my go-to place, just a few acres, or maybe somewhere to put up a camper or put your cabin, or maybe you're in the market to get a new home or your first home. Whatever the case may be, Woods and Water Realty is there to help you out. Just check them out at woodsandwater.com. Woods and Water Realty, your real estate store, also partners of ours with the mobile man cave, which is going to be out and about this Friday. Going to be over at Blue Marble Pub for Oktoberfest. Going to be there between about 9:30 and 10. We're going to do a podcast over there, but you can stop by, have some breakfast and such. Brandon and I will do a podcast there from the Mobile Man Cave. But again, if you're looking maybe for some hunting land and such, or a new home or your first home, Woods and Water Realty is your real estate store. Just visit woodsandwater.com. All right, let's talk some Brewers baseball to open up this morning, shall we? Brew Crew picking up a 6-2 win last night against the top team in the National League. Top team wins wise in all of Major League Baseball, the Philadelphia Phillies. Brewers jumping out to an early lead and really never looking back after that. Putting up 2 runs in the bottom of the third. William Contreras with that 2-run double. Brewers tacking on another one in the fourth there, and then a couple more insurance runs in the sixth, and ended up with 6 total runs on 8 hits. Aaron Civale, solid, 5 innings. Maybe Brewers would have liked to go another inning or such with him, but he went 5, giving up 7 hits, striking out 6. Did give up a dinger solo shot there, 1 earned run. But Colin Ray, who has been one of the more consistent starters for this Brewers team this season, coming out of the pen. All hands on deck approach right now in this stretch run for the Brewers. He comes in, pitches just under 3 innings, 2 2/3, giving up 3 hits, 1 strike, no earned runs, picking up the save, his first career save. But with the Brewers kind of stretched thin in the bullpen and the pitching department, given this stretch of games with no off days built in, guys a little bit, banged up, dinged up here a little bit. Colin Ray stepping up and providing his team with a couple innings of relief last night. All hands on deck. A perfect example, I think, last night of just this whole team. It was a team win. It was a team victory last night for the Crew. And going through some of the comments from some of the players and Pat Murphy and such, they kind of echoed that. Colin Ray after the game, we always figure out a way. We sign the right type of guys that are willing to do anything. This was actually, from Pat Murphy. Colin was told today that we're light in the bullpen. That's the type of people who you're looking to build with when you're in a small market and have all the adversity that we've had. That's what this comes down to. Also, Pat Murphy talking about, the team getting close to clinching that playoff spot. And he said, I heard what people were saying. A lot of people laughed at us and said that this was a rebuild and things like that. We haven't accomplished anything yet, but we'll keep playing and be competitive every game like we have. That's what I see in this group. It's the right young energy, the right leaders. Civale, after the game, kind of talking about the environment and this playoff run, or this run to the playoffs. Excuse me. So he said, anytime you're competing and playing meaningful games at the end of the year, it's awesome. The crowd is definitely into it every time. It's nice to pitch in front of them. It's also the confidence and comfort I have with this whole team and that everyone in this clubhouse has with each other. Here's how well Civale has been pitching, and I think it's kind of flew under the radar just a bit, because earlier this morning when I was looking up some numbers and some stats and that, and I saw this, and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I think that kind of flew under the radar a little bit. I I probably wouldn't have guessed that. Savali in his last 7 starts, he's 5-0 with a 2.56 ERA. We talk about him and Frankie Montas and DL Hall, maybe pitching this last few games here, trying to make an impression to, be a part of maybe a playoff rotation there, that 4 spot or wherever it be, maybe a piggyback or whatnot. And Savali's right now, you got to give the man credit. His last 7 games, dude's been those are pretty solid numbers. And you go back to August, and again, I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. So you take away that August 3rd game where he had 5 earned runs. Otherwise, that would have been, 8th game there. He had 5 earned runs. The most he has given up has been 3. And he did that against Oakland on the 23rd and St. Louis back on September 3rd. Other than that, it's 2, 0, 3, 0, 3, 2, 1. But when you break it down, I think, if you're 4 starter, 5th starter, whatever, however you view Aaron Savali in terms of where he's lined up in his rotation, I will take a 5-0 record with a 2.56 ERA for my 4th, 5th starter any day of the week right now. We talk about building momentum, stacking success, playing your best baseball as we near the postseason, as we get into the postseason. And right now, you can make that case that Aaron Savali is doing just that. That he's doing just that. And, you got Colin Ray who, comes out of the bullpen and such. This is one thing that's really going to be curious to see once the Brewers get to the postseason. We all know they're going. Okay, unless there's something catastrophic that happens. Don't want to jinx or anything, but they're going. Okay. It is going to be very interesting to see who makes that playoff roster, who makes that rotation, and how creative does Pat Murphy and Chris Hook get here too? Because remember, Pat Murphy, one of the things he has done this year with his staff is he's empowered his staff. From all the accounts, from what we've heard, read, listened to, whatever, sounds like he's given a lot more responsibility to his staff, to his assistant coaches, 2 guys like Chris Hook. And I think one of the most intriguing things that I kind of curious to see how it's going to work or how they're going to go about it is the pitchers they keep, and could some of these guys that we've seen, get some starts, could they be bullpen options, but kind of long relief bullpen options here? So that to me is going to be something fascinating to kind of watch here. Because, I mean, if you have that versatility of a guy like Colin Ray that can come out of the pen and eat you some innings, maybe, an Aaron Savali or maybe a Frankie Montas, DL Hall could do that. It's just, I'm really curious and intrigued to see how this all plays out when we get to that post, especially, it's a short series too, right? How do the Brewers treat that series? I mean, I think it's fair to say they haven't really had a like lights out dominant starter number 1 ace. So is it kind of an all hands on deck approach when you get to the postseason here? Maybe, you throw out a starter, but hey, if he doesn't have the stuff right away, you pull him and then you got another guy that can eat you a few. I don't know. But that's going to be, I think, one of the most intriguing things is how they're going to pick their roster and what pitchers they're going to decide to bring. I mean, some are locks, but I think there's going to be a few. Maybe it's like an Aaron Savali. Maybe it's like a Frankie Montas. What exact roles are they going to have when it gets to be postseason time? So the Brewers tonight's going to be an interesting pitching matchup between these 2 ball clubs. The offense is going to have their work cut out for them. They're going up against Zach Wheeler. Zach Wheeler getting the start for the Phillies this year. 15-6 with a 2.60 ERA. You've got some experience, plenty of experience with a couple guys going up against Zach Wheeler. In fact, one guy who has had success against Zach Wheeler in his career has been Willy Adames. In 13 career at-bats, he has a home run, but he's hitting .308 with an OPS of an .846 against Zach Wheeler. Other than that, I mean, you've had Hoskins, who's gotten 22 career at-bats, 227. Hoskins just kind of seems maybe to take it up a notch here when he goes up against his former team here. Sanchez has 11 career at-bats, but nothing to brag about, 182 OPS. Contreras, 12 career at-bats, 167, 417 OPS. On the flip side, when you look at some of these Phillies hitters going up against Frankie, Marsh is 11 career at-bats, 182. Nick Castellanos is 231 and 13 career at-bats. So, I mean, Willie, by all accounts, when we look at players who have double-digit at-bats, a little bit more experience against these pitchers, Willie has had the most success against them. But when you look at what Zach Wheeler has kind of been doing since August, guy's been pretty dominant. When you look at his last 8 games, he's 5-1 right now in his last 8 games. In the month of August, he finished with a 1.62 ERA in 6 games. 1.62 ERA in 6 games. September right now, he's 2-0 with a 2.25 ERA. He's coming off of a win against Tampa Bay back on the 11th, where he went 6 innings in 2 earned runs. Zach Wheeler is a guy that's going to eat up some innings here too. And he's been pretty darn consistent since August. Since August, he has pitched at least, in these 8 games, in these last 8 games, he has pitched at least 6 innings or more. And his pitch counts have been fairly, he's only gone 100 or more twice in those 8 games. In fact, the one game against Seattle at the beginning of August, he went 8 innings and only pitched 96 pitches. So, he's been pretty efficient here too. So, if the Brewers, I got to imagine maybe, Brewers-wise, you want to probably maybe try to attack him or get that pitch count up early. Try to get him out of the game. Try to be a little aggressive if you can. The last really bad start from Zach Wheeler, you got to go back to the 29th, and it was against the Yankees, where he went 5 innings, and he gave up 7 earned runs and 3 home runs. And then you go back to June, where he gave up 8 earned runs against Baltimore in a game. So maybe Zach Wheeler's due. He didn't really have that bad game in August. Had that, kind of hiccup in July against the Phillies, June against Baltimore. Kind of had another one in May if we're scrolling through it, where he gave up 6 in May. I think he's due. That's optimistic thinking right there. Hopefully he's due against the Brewers tonight with this Brewers offense. But nonetheless, it's going to be a tough outing because he is pitching really well. Frankie Montas, meanwhile, he's coming off of a solid August. 2-1 with a 3.82 ERA. In his 2 starts in September, he's 1-1 with a 2.25 ERA. His lone loss came September 6th against Colorado, where he went 6, 3 earned runs. But he's coming off of that game against the Giants back on the 12th, where he picked up the win, went 6 innings, and just gave up 2 hits, no earned runs, and a couple of walks too. 8 strikeouts. The last 2 games that Frankie Montas has pitched, the 2 games in September, dude has been racking up some of the strikeouts. 18 total strikeouts in his last 2 games. 10 against Colorado in the 6th, and his last game against the Giants, he had 8. So he's been racking them up here in the last couple of weeks here. That's why I think tonight's matchup between these 2 pitchers, it's good. It potentially could be pretty fun. Brewers' sake, I hope that they can get to Wheeler early and Wheeler's having an off day. But when you look at how these two pitchers have been pitching as of late, it could be a fun outing. Maybe a little anxious outing. I mean, everything on paper and everything that we see lately, it kind of paints a picture of a potentially, maybe low scoring game, right? But how many times in baseball and how many times in sports has it gone a complete 180, the complete opposite? More times than we could probably imagine. But the Brewers have a chance tonight. They have a chance tonight to win the division. They need to take care of their business first. And, well, they need the Oakland A's to help them out a little bit too. So I know that's, you're not really controlling your own destiny there, but I got to imagine the message is, and I hope that the message is with this team. And I thought Pat Murphy made a kind of an interesting comment, funny comment yesterday too before the game. It's like, I'm not sure how many guys actually know what's going on. And I like that mindset. If that's true, where some of the guys, they're kind of tuning it out, zoning it out. They don't know what's going on, or they don't know where they're at in the standings and that. I mean, don't know if that's true or that's just typical coach speak. But I like that mindset if that's the case. But I hope that the Brewers just kind of continue to roll with that mindset that they've been having pretty much all season, one game at a time. We're focused on winning today. Take care of your business. It'll all work out. Win tonight, then you can check the scoreboard. I'd rather have Brewers team kind of take care of their own business and just win it outright that way. But still, main thing too, besides the wins, start to gain that momentum, continue to gain that momentum. Because right now you're looking at those 3 games against Arizona, you won 2 out of 3. Maybe if you didn't have a tired bullpen, a little bit worn out bullpen, you might have completed that sweep against Arizona, but who knows? A lot of butterfly effects there. You picked up this first win against Philadelphia. We knew this was going to be a tough stretch, but this was a stretch we wanted to see this team stack success, win a bunch of games, get momentum heading into the postseason. Right now, they're trending in that direction. They're trending in that direction. And I got to tell you, I'm getting pretty pumped up. I'm getting pretty pumped up because we're officially less than 2 weeks of the regular season being done with. We're close. We're feeling it. And they're still in that chase. The Brewers are still in that chase to try to get one of those top 2 seeds in the National League. And they could really help themselves out. It's a tough task, but they could really help themselves out if they could somehow pull off a sweep against Philadelphia if it comes into tiebreakers and such. But man, I love this. It's kind of like playoff baseball right now, really. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll finish up the second hour here. Your thoughts? What's on your mind? Hit me up. All right. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. If you're in the market to update that flooring game of yours, upgrade that flooring game of yours, hey, you don't need to stress about it and think about it too much because our good friends at Carpet City Flooring Center are there ready to help you out. If you're not quite sure of what floors would work the best in your space, what will look the best, what would, fit in your budget. The entire team over at Carpet City Flooring Center, hey, they're there to help you out. Just stop on in, all right? Just go visit them and be like, think about upgrading my flooring game, thinking about getting some new floors, just not quite sure what would look the best or work with the best. Hey, they got you. That's why they're the best teammates in the flooring business, okay? So go visit them, 3109 East Hamilton Avenue in Eau Claire. And whether it's carpet, tile, vinyl planks, luxury vinyl planks, maybe even want to, upgrade the shower of yours. Like if you got a man cave shower, like I've got a shower in my bathroom in the man cave. I kind of want to redo some of those tiles in there. They can help you out there too. All right. Carpet City Flooring Center right here in Eau Claire. Also, too, with week 3 of the football season officially in the books, excuse me, week 2. Did I say week 3? Week 2 of the football season officially in the books. Kind of now we got an eye on week 3 here, right? We got Thursday Night Football coming up here in just a couple of days. So, with that, let me ask you, why wouldn't you want to join over 1 million fans across 33 states that got in the game last year by making picks on Underdog Fantasy? It's a cool thing to do in sports. So, with maybe the Thursday night's game coming up, or maybe you want to focus on some of the games, maybe your favorite teams there. Underdog Fantasy, the one thing that I really enjoy about it is it gives you a wide variety of pick'ems to pick. You can do offensive players, you can do defensive players. Heck, you can do special teams if you're pretty confident in some of the kickers out there. So, Underdog Fantasy has it all. It's so simple, so easy to make some selections over there. So all you got to do, all right, all you got to do is head over to Underdog's simple to use mobile app or underdogfantasy.com. Sign up with the promo code Casper, that's Kasper, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code Casper to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. Must be 18 and older and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. I finally got a promo code. We gotta use that up. All right. So I need your help over there. All right. Let's finish up this first hour. Coming up next hour, we've got Analyze That, kind of a new segment here with the football season coming up. Don't forget, it is also a Grind My Gears Tuesday. So what's grinding your gears? You can let us know. Get it off your chest. G-Man, way to go Brewers last night. The Crew just win this series and the division is ours. I really like that Mr. Ray got saved last night. This is awesome for the Brewers because everyone on this team will do whatever it takes to win. P.S. I want to see that Bucky finishes with 8 wins this year on Wisconsin. We've got Eric saying about the Brewers. This team is so fun to watch. I don't know what to expect night in and night out, but that makes it fun for me. Can't believe the type of season they're having, and I can't believe we're talking about this team still in the hunt to finish as a top 2 team in the National League. Pat Murphy doesn't win Manager of the Year. That will be the biggest disappointment in recent history. Another texture here, Greg, talking about the Brewers. What a fun game last night. All hands on deck, like you said. Total team efforts. Would love to see the Brewers win this series against the Phillies and continue to gain momentum heading towards the postseason. Keep comments going. We'll get back to some more texts coming up a little bit later on. Tonight's game, again, by the way, first pitch, 6:40. You can catch it on the radio dials, 105.1 FM and 790 AM. All right. You can check it out over there. Take a listen to game 2 of the series, which, at least on paper, and I know that doesn't tell you the whole story because we've seen it how many times in sports, but an interesting pitching matchup. Zach Wheeler going up against Frankie Montas. Zach Wheeler, both Zach Wheeler, Frankie Montas been pitching pretty solid as of late, especially Zach Wheeler here. So hopefully the Brewers can. Maybe he's due. Maybe the Brewers offense can give him one of those games because he hasn't had one in over a month. So maybe Wheeler's kind of due for one of those games. Just say, because I mean the most that he's given up in his last 8 games has been 2 earned runs. The guy's got to be due. Come on. Hopefully that Brewers offense can be the team that does it for him. So a couple more texts, actually. Let's do a couple more texts here to finish up the first hour here. We've got David saying for the Brewers here. I agree with you. I have no idea what's going to happen with the pitching rotation when it comes to the postseason, and maybe that's a benefit to the Brewers having that advantage over other teams not knowing what they will do either. Another texter here, don't have a name, can't give you any credit here, but a texter says with this Brewers team, sure seems like the Brewers are starting to gain a little bit of momentum. Hopefully they can continue to do that and not collapse here towards it and kind of limp into the postseason. My concern is when they win the division, do they start to get a little complacent? Seems to be a popular word, complacent, the last few weeks when we talk about the Brewers here. But I get that. I think what helps, or at least I hope what helps the Brewers right now, is the fact that they're still in the chase for a top 2 seed to get a bye. And I think right now, when you look at it, this is a team that probably would like to have a first round bye because their pitching staff, their bullpen arms, their starters. I think they probably could use a couple of days of rest. Now I know you had an off day on Monday and such, and a couple days before the postseason and that, but I think this is a team that, pitching wise, they would really like to have a first round bye to rest some of those guys, to get those arms ready to go here for hopefully a deep postseason run. So while I agree, that's the one thing, okay, you get the division, you get a little champagne, you celebrate in the locker room. It's a as players like to say, it's a cap and t-shirt game. If you win it and you get to celebrate, you get a division hat, division champ t-shirt, and all that. Still got something to play for at the end of the regular season. Now, maybe when they get to that final series against the Mets, maybe at that point it's just mathematically not possible for the Brewers to win a top 2 seed, and maybe things change in that series. And at this point in time, that series might be a little bit more important for the Mets to try to get a playoff spot. And that could be a team that the Brewers face in the first round of the playoffs too. So a lot to still, even though we're entering the final couple weeks here of this regular season, still lots to kind of play for here. Even if they win that division, still some things in front of them that they could accomplish. Evil Surveyor says, if you're Pat Murphy, who's your game 1 starter in the postseason? Is it Colin Ray? I think they're going to still go with Freddie, but that's just me. I think a lot's going to depend on too how they can set their rotation if they got anything to play for in the final weekend. Let's finish up the first hour with Morgs. Good morning, Morgan.
So how do you feel about being on the other side of September now, halfway through already?
Yeah.
Are you digging the last gasp of summer, or is it making you mad because you want fall to roll in?
I want to wear hoodies. I'm not like some people who can wear a hoodie when it's 95 degrees out and humid.
Hey, shade taken and fine, and also true. I own that 100% of the time, all the way. So are you one of those people that would have liked to have been at Lambeau, or is it too hot for you to watch football in that kind of weather so it doesn't feel like the true experience?
Oh, I was at the hottest game a few years ago.
Does that feel weird to you? Like, would you rather go
weird,
in a cold day?
especially when it was an overtime tie.
Yeah.
And it was longer, so I just felt disgusting.
So you would rather be in below zero Lambeau weather?
I'd rather be in fall weather.
Well,
cool
of course
mornings,
we all
would. Long sleeve under the jersey.
I think it's safe to say, like, as humans, we don't agree on very much, but we can almost all universally agree that fall's kind of the best. Like
Right?
everybody could perfectly dial in those crisp mornings,
Yeah.
like hoodie weather. You're good. The roads aren't
Jeans, good
really
pair of
nasty.
jeans.
It's like
Yeah.
everybody would do that. We get a small window in Wisconsin
Yeah.
of the perfect weather in
I
fall.
know.
And it
Exactly.
keeps us here year round, let's face it.
Mhm.
Because if it was like that all the time, then everyone would live here. You got to be hardy to stick it through winter.
It to back to your question, it's funny you say that because I did tell a buddy of mine if I was at that game, that would be a game where I'd probably lose my voice.
Screaming?
Yeah,
Okay.
because you're like, okay, we got to help out the defense.
Right.
We got to get loud, and it
Yeah.
was close,
Yeah.
and it was, back like just wasn't quite, to that point where you're feeling comfortable.
Yep.
You almost felt like you were a part of the team, like you have to help will
Well,
this
and
team to
plus when you're
victory.
at Lambeau, the energy is there and they have the get loud Lambeau and everything. So you have to. It's like you're encouraged to get swept up in it. It's a good time. It's
Right.
a good place to be. What were you feeling about the game overall with Love out? Were you nervous and then you felt good?
I was
Seeing
nervous.
Willison, he did okay. You
Yeah.
feel confident?
I was nervous, and then when the first couple drives when they were moving it, and I'm like, okay, I got really intense. And I
Well,
told Hudson, I'm like, dude, I want to win this game.
right, of course we all did, and
Yeah.
I think it was actually I thought Willis sounded great on Mike afterwards. The press he did afterwards and giving credit to the guys ahead of him that
Yep.
set him up. That to me was kind of like a class act. I think he sounded pretty
Well,
good.
and you say that too, and I'm glad this got resurfaced. So when he was going through the combine, through the draft, this video resurfaced of him after working out at the combine.
Yeah,
He was actually giving some clothes to a homeless person on the street.
really.
So that's the type
That's
of
a great
individual,
yeah,
you
see,
know.
and I kinda got that impression listening to him, which is opposite from the Rogers show, which was
Mhm.
kind of just gross to watch after some of
Right.
the games because he would deflect and everything, and
Exactly.
Willis didn't, and he was really quick to give credit to the
Mhm.
setup, and I liked the way that he came off in that initial interview. I
Seems
thought
like a
it was
very
good.
stand-up
Well, kinda like a
individual.
class act, which is
Yes.
nice to see.
Yep.
Yeah, gives you some hope.
And it seemed like the team really rallied behind him too,
That's the
which
impression I got,
yeah.
which is probably a good indication that he's a decent guy because if you have the team on your side, and that just does a lot for morale overall,
Mhm.
obviously, at any level, pro or
Yep.
locally. I mean, you can tell that when you're at a high school game for crying out loud. It
Exactly.
depends on.
Yeah.
Okay, quick. Got a random question
Okay.
for you. What app do you use the most on your phone?
Probably Facebook, unfortunately, or Twitter.
Disengage from the drama, man.
Does text count?
No,
Okay.
app.
That is my
Disengage.
goal in 2025.
Yes.
New Year's resolution to
I
disengage.
have a tip for you.
Shut it off.
Thank you. Turn it off.
All right, here we go. Second hour. Second hour kicking off on this Tuesday morning. What up, everybody? If you're up and at it, we appreciate you tuning in and taking us along to with your ride. If you're in the car and getting ready to go to work, or maybe heading off to drop off the kiddos at school and such, we appreciate you tuning in here this morning. Coming up, we'll talk a little green and gold new segments every Tuesday that we're going to hit up. We're going to talk about analyze that. Analyze that. So what that is kind of mostly in the football season here, but usually I try to watch the game 2 or 3 times. One time as a fan, just straight up as a fan. Second, third time, try to watch it, see what I missed. Some of the stuff that I kind of missed out there. So did that yesterday, talking or watching the Green Bay game, and there was a couple things. And I really wanted to focus on the defense side because we spent so much time yesterday talking about the offense and talking about Malik Willis and the game plan from Matt LaFleur, the running attack from Jacobs and such. I wanted to kind of watch a little bit with the defense because, well, for one, a guy that we really haven't heard a ton about has been Kenny Clark, and I kind of wanted to see about okay, what's really going on with Kenny Clark right now? Like, is he just kind of quiet? Are we missing anything? So got that, and then the other thing that kind of stood out to me as well. So that's coming up here in just a couple minutes. We're going to talk some Badgers with Mr. R.J. Cardinal. Tyler Van Dyke done for the season with that knee injury. Also, we'll talk about Braylon Locke. And I want to ask you, Badger fans, all right? With Tyler Van Dyke done for the season, with that blowout loss to Alabama, got a bye week this week. What's your expectations now for the rest of this season, or what do you want to see from this Badger team for the rest of the season? Outside of obviously, I think we would all, if you're a Badger fan, you want to see wins. We all want to see wins. Okay? But if you're being realistic with some of this stuff here, what is it now that you're like, what are your expectations, for this ball club? So I want to talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about that with RJ coming up next hour. Don't forget it is also an ASAP Used Auto Parts Grind My Gears Tuesday. Grind My Gears Tuesday. So what's grinding your gears? You want to get something off your chest or maybe a pet peeve that's going on now that we've got football season and such? Let me know. All right. Hit us up with the text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912. Or you can comment on the video stream. James over there talking about the Brewers. What excites me about the Brewers is their consistency. We all presumed there would be a collapse, but they proved us wrong. I think that consistency will bleed into the postseason. Go Brewers. You talk about consistency with the Brewers. I believe I would have to double check, but I believe they are still the only team that hasn't lost 4 in a row in Major League Baseball. I still think they are. I'll have to double check that. But I believe they're still the only team yet in baseball that hasn't won or hasn't lost 4 in a row. So I'll try to double check that a little bit later on in between commercial breaks and such. So, all right, let's start this new segment called Analyze That. So, Mondays after a ball game, we tend to maybe overreact or get a little too pumped up, or we talk about, the main highlights or what really stood out and that. So now that we've gotten a little bit of we let it marinate a little bit here. We're a couple days removed. Kind of, do a little bit of a deep dive or take a look at a couple of things. Rewatch the tape, as a scout would say. Rewatch the film, and I do that a lot, just maybe to kind of watch some other things that maybe I'm not paying attention to if I'm watching as a fan, because if you're watching as a fan, you're kind of following the ball, right? That's where you're at. So yesterday, when I turned the game back on, I really wanted to focus on the defense because we've spent so much time talking about the offense and that. So there was one player in particular I wanted to really kind of hone in on and kind of watch was Kenny Clark. Because I feel like, Kenny Clark got that new deal, right? That extension before the season started. And Kenny Clark was a guy, too, that we all thought that would be a player that really benefited this system. And going back to that game, you heard Greg Olsen, talking about Devontae Wyatt, saying Devontae Wyatt's a guy that's going to really benefit from that system. And you really didn't hear Kenny Clark's name mentioned too much. Wasn't, number 97 wasn't talked about a whole lot. And so I was like, okay, I want to watch this. I want to focus on 97 here a little bit. I want to focus on Kenny Clark. And just to kind of sum it up, to be honest, it's kind of been the same old Kenny Clark. There was quite a few times the man was double teamed. Rewatching it, there was quite a few times that guy was double teamed. Still, even with, base defense, 4 down linemen, he was double teamed. But the times that he wasn't, Kenny Clark was having his way on one-on-one matchups more times than not. Now, there were a few times he got really quick into the backfield, but Jonathan Taylor, the running back, kind of exploited that, ran right by him because that hole's opened up there. So, I mean, credit to the Colts and credit to Jonathan Taylor for exploiting that. But it was, when there was quite a few times, a lot of times, in fact, in that game, Kenny Clark was still double teams. But the times that he was matched up one-on-one, when he did have one-on-one matchups, Kenny Clark was bull rushing, pushing that offensive lineman into the backfield. And a couple times it actually worked against him when he was able to, really push that offensive lineman in the backfield with that bull rush that opened up a hole for Jonathan Taylor for a couple big runs there. So, honestly, it's kind of like the same Kenny Clark. Guys getting double teams. Guys getting extra attention from offensive linemen. Center, guard, right guard, left guard, depending on where Kenny Clark was lined up. So he's not making a whole lot of impact in terms of the box score, in terms of stats and such. But obviously he's still having an effect on the game where you've got opposing offensive linemen or opposing offensive lines focusing in on 97 and still double teaming him. And still, recognizing that, 97 is a dude. Is a dude out there. But one thing that I noticed a few times in that game too, when it was 3rd and long, and when it was, an obvious passing situation, Packers employed a different defensive line. It was all their, for lack of a better phrase, defensive ends. Rashawn Gary and Lucas Van Ness were lined up in the middle. Preston Smith and Kingsley Enagbare were lined up on the outside as defensive ends. But once the play started, it was stunts. So the ends, Preston Smith and Kiki, would crash inside, and then Rashawn Gary and Lucas Van Ness would kind of come off the edge, come over the top there. And I noticed that a few times, rewatching the game yesterday, that again, it really wasn't talked about. But I'm like, did I actually see that? So you're like rewinding it. And sure enough, there was a couple times in obvious passing situations in those 3rd downs. You had Kiki, Lucas Van Ness, Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith. The ends would crash down. Lucas Van Ness and Gary coming outside the edge, over the edge there. I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm like, okay. Getting your horses out there, right? And there was a couple times, too, Quay Walker would join in on the fun. Bring in their fast rushers going after that quarterback. There was a few times they'd line up with those 4, but then Quay Walker would also blitz. Trying to get after the quarterback. We've heard Jeff Hafley talk about quite a bit getting after the quarterback, being aggressive. taking him down. And I think in the first couple of games, and when you really watch it, it seems to be a really kind of contained rush. There hasn't been a lot of sacks, right? I mean, there's been a couple. Devontae Wyatt had one. Against Richardson, Rashawn Gary had one in Brazil against Jalen Hurts. There hasn't been a ton of sacks. And I know when you go on social media, which is a dangerous place, but when you go on social media, Packers fans have been like, well, where's the sacks? There's not a ton of sacks. Not everybody's like Aiden Hutchinson who's going to give you 100 in a game. I'm being sarcastic in that, but you know what I mean. But I think it's been, when you kind of watch it, it seems to be a very kind of contained rush, which makes a lot of sense when you look at the two quarterbacks that the Packers have had to face in the first couple of weeks. It has been Jalen Hurts and it has been Anthony Richardson, quarterbacks that are mobile, quarterbacks that can beat you with their legs, can make big plays. They've had a very kind of, like, shall we say, disciplined pass rush, trying to keep those quarterbacks in the pocket. And I think they've done a decent job. We talked about it the other day. We talked about it after the Hurts game, after the Philly game. Hurts didn't really beat them with their legs or with his legs. Same with Anthony Richardson. Outside of that last play, one of the last plays where he picked up that 4th and long with his legs. And when you rewatch it, that was an interesting one because I rewatched it. You had Kenny Clark and I think it was Colby Wooden who actually dropped back. So they started to rush, but then they dropped back. But then Kenny Clark tripped. And if you rewatch that replay, it was Quay Walker and Kenny Clark. Kenny Clark was actually the one who pushed Richardson out. So it kind of got blown up in that aspect where, you had your 2 interior linemen who kind of backed off and dropped back. Richardson steps up in the middle and beats him to the edge. But it's been a very kind of disciplined pass rush contained within the pocket, and it makes sense. Now, it'll be interesting to see if it changes this weekend going up against Will Levis, because according to Next Gen Stats, the most pressured quarterback in the NFL on percentage of dropbacks the first 2 weeks of the season is Will Levis, 53.4%. The next closest is Caleb Williams at 43.2%. But the most pressured quarterback in the NFL, based off percentage of dropbacks, Will Levis, over half of his dropbacks he's been pressured on. So the first 2 weeks, when you've looked at this Packers pass rush, it's kind of been a contained, disciplined pass rush, trying to keep the quarterback in the pocket, not allowing him to, extend the play, beat you with their legs, going out there and making big plays on the run. That perhaps changes this week. So for any Packers fan out there that would like to see more sacks, kind of questioning why maybe they don't have more sacks or getting after the quarterback, possibly could be this week with Will Levis. But when you break it all down, it kind of makes sense when you look at the numbers, like, oh, okay, you got 2 mobile quarterbacks there. And maybe that's when we'll see a guy like Kenny Clark really now start to take advantage of this style of defense. But I thought it was interesting rewatching it, seeing some of those defensive formations up front, especially on the 3rd and long, obvious passing situations, to employ your 4 defensive ends all on the line. It almost kind of reminded me of Don Capers' NASCAR package back in the day. Getting all your pass rushers up there and going like it was like 1 down lineman and then a bunch of outside linebackers. But you had Gary and Van Ness lined up in the middle and then stunting out. So something to kind of keep an eye on, maybe, especially now with the Packers getting set to go up against Will Levis. So Quick note too, Rob Demoski, our good buddy Rob Demoski, noted yesterday that from what he had heard, the whole Jordan Love last week being very coy, then being listed as questionable and such. Apparently, from what Rob had heard, it wasn't a charade. That Jordan Love was very close to playing in the game on Sunday. So if you're one that is hoping that Jordan Love can play against the Titans, maybe there's a decent shot. Matt LaFleur yesterday said that he'd like to have his quarterback practice a little bit since he didn't practice at all last week, but it is not a prerequisite for him to go out there. So we'll get our first glimpse tomorrow when the Packers return to practice. All right, we'll talk some more Packers really quick. Ron, 2 days in a row now. Ron texted in. All right, man, must be football season. As a Badgers fan, my only expectation now is to keep the axe and beat the Gophers. That's about it. Nothing really to have hope in. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more Packers talk here. We got Badgers chats coming up here too. Don't forget, Grind My Gears. We'll hit that up at the back end of this hour, okay? Hit me up with what's grinding your gears this morning. youth teams or organizations looking to maybe get some swag printed off or maybe start an online store, especially if you are a youth sports team and want to raise some funds, Residence Branding Company is your go-to place. If you're looking for maybe some new jerseys over there or maybe some new baseball pants, I know we got a lot of youth baseball teams out there. Residence Branding Company can help you accomplish that as well. Let your brand resonate with Resonance Branding Company. Matt, Ben, Eric, Quinn, the entire team over there. They're absolutely fantastic people to work with. You can stop by their shop at 1728 Spooner Avenue, Suite C in Altoona. And don't forget to check out Swag Cave, the official or Residence Branding Company, the official swag provider for the program over here. That link is up online at our websites. We'll get back to, I know a few of you have got some texts here. We'll get back to those coming up here in just a little bit here. But we'll continue our green and gold chats here for a little bit with Joseph in studio. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am doing great, man. We outside of Wisconsin, and when I say Wisconsin, I mean Wisconsin football. JV last night, Eau Claire Memorial pulled one out against Marshfield, 26-22. Packers won on Sunday, and I get to spend the next 20 minutes talking football with you. So life is good, my friend.
Well, we are little rivals because I know Memorial and North are going at it this weekend.
I know.
We are a North family.
But here's the thing, though. I still have hope because the NIL money that I'm going to throw at Young Huts is going to be through the roof, man. And so
you could be violating some stuff right now. WIA didn't approve that.
Well, not yet. But by the time Young Huts is at that age, I think the WIA will approve that.
He's already got a few touchdown passes this season.
I'm already
our
banking
best
on
defensive player. Okay, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that in case there's other kids listening. He's aggressive at pulling those flags. We'll just say that.
You know what though? I'm going to say I'm holding out hope that I can swing Young Huts at some point down the road over to be an Old Abe. So there you go.
Let the recruiting begin.
Absolutely, man. I mean, this is going to be, NIL money, all kinds of stuff. You're going to see Huts on a billboard soon.
Everybody who would like to make your pitch, I'm open on Twitter right now. I'm just at DANKSBER. You want to hit me up over there. So let's you might owe some beers at the Courthouse.
Oh, no doubt.
After picking against the Pack on Sunday. So,
happy to do it. And I got to tell you, Matt LaFleur put together a heck of a game plan. And I tweeted it out this morning, and the job that Matt LaFleur did last year, I don't think he got the recognition for. Taking Jordan Love, taking these young wide receivers and tight ends, and really putting together quite a run at the end of the season. Last year, once everything clicked, they were one of the most truly dominant offenses the second half of the season. And I think Matt LaFleur managing the Aaron Rodgers situation. I think Matt LaFleur managing Jordan Love, and then seeing the game that he put together. And again, I don't want to take anything away from Adam Stenavich either, because Stenavich, run game coordinator for the Packers and OC. So I think the both of them put together a heck of a game plan. And I thought Malik Willis looked comfortable. I don't think there was ever a case when you felt, he almost threw that one into coverage. So he stayed away from mistakes. And again, also tipping my hat to Brian Gutekunst. This is the reason he went out and got Josh Jacobs. Aaron Jones doesn't do that. Not an 87-degree day. He's not a bell cow back. There's that term again, bell cow. Yep. So I have to do that for our sales manager here. So
I was really hoping he was listening to the Packer game too, because they did drop bell cow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, again, Brian Gutekunst, front office, Xavier McKinney comes out again, but really tipping my hat to Matt LaFleur and Adam Stenavich. That game plan and the eye candy that he put with that running attack. And again, getting guys like Christian Watson and Tucker Kraft to block on the move, and looking at the job the offensive line did, getting to the second level. It was a masterpiece performance by LaFleur. And so I tip my hat, and I think Matt LaFleur nationally doesn't get the credit he deserves. And I think he's truly proving probably a top 5 coach, top 5 play caller. So again, Green Bay tip my cap to.
What would you say to the fans? Because we had a few of them yesterday that said it should have been more.
I'm going to. You get X amount of wins in life. I don't
Mhm.
care what you're doing. You have to cherish and enjoy each and every one. It doesn't matter how it looks. And again, somebody on Twitter I thought really put it nicely. This was really about a 26-3 game
Mhm.
masquerading as a 16-10 game.
Mhm.
Josh Jacobs doesn't fumble going in. That's a 17-0 ball game, and I don't think the Colts come out with any kind of fire at that point. So it's a different ball game. But again, for me, there is no such thing as ugly wins. This is a team that barely lost to the Texans. Okay, so and everyone's saying the Texans are so good. Now they're 2-0, but they just got by the Colts and really kind of just got by the Bears. And so we'll see in a few weeks how good the Texans are. But again, a win is a win is a win is a win. And you get X amount of these in life, and there is no such thing as an ugly win. There isn't a WL and UW column. It's wins and losses.
Mhm.
And if the Packers go on 12-5, 11-6, go on to make it to the NFC Championship, no one's going to care what the score was. They're just going to look at the W.
Right. I mean, they did the job, right?
They did what they had
They
to.
did the job that they had to do
Yep.
in that game. I'm glad you mentioned that about LaFleur because I was mentioning about that yesterday. I mean, if there still seems to be excuses when it comes to LaFleur. Well, you had Aaron Rodgers. And then it's like, okay, next year we're going to, well, then, Jordan Love actually is the next coming great quarterback and LaFleur doesn't get credit. To me, he should be mentioned more because you keep hearing Shanahan and McVay. Andy Reid is number one in my. I mean, he's got the championship. LaFleur deserves to be involved in that conversation.
No question. No question. And you know what? I was remiss. I need to mention Tom Clements as well because you know darn well Tom Clements had a big part in Malik Willis being ready to play, and Tom Clements, of course, the quarterback coach. But yeah, I think LaFleur does not get the credit, and I think managing. Look, I think Mike McCarthy did a nice job of managing Favre at the back end of his career, and then the transition to Aaron Rodgers. And I think that Matt LaFleur was put in the same situation with Aaron Rodgers at the end of his career, and the transition to Jordan Love. And I think Matt LaFleur's done a tremendous job. Look, have I had questions over the years about Matt LaFleur? Absolutely. I think last year when this team was 3-6 last year, when this team was 3-6, it didn't look good. Now, as a coach, and you know this, you look for little victories, you look for little things. And last year, Matt LaFleur talked about that Pittsburgh game being the game that he saw. Yes, I can quote unquote give the keys to the offense to Jordan Love. And so, yeah, I don't think Matt LaFleur gets mentioned in the McVays and the Shanahan type of a thing, and they're all from the same coaching tree. I don't even think that LaFleur, sometimes I think people say that McDaniel is better than LaFleur. So yeah, I think it's time that Matt LaFleur gets his just desserts. And I think again, the job he did, that was a masterpiece, especially that first half in the running game.
I think that was kind of shown to his reaction after their touchdown. I mean, jumping up and down. I mean, you could tell like it gave the impression, and I know coaches usually are, but like it was like he was part of that, part of that team. Like he was a guy that feels like, just really intense into it sort of thing. And I love seeing that react. I think the players feed off of it too.
No doubt.
Funny part, we were watching that. Hudson sitting next to me. He's like, that's total opposite of Pat Murphy. And then he demonstrated how Pat Murphy would do it.
You know what? So. I got to tell you, man, I can't wait until that kid and you do your own show. I just, I love when Hutz, when he talks sports because you've got a future sports talk guy there. But yeah, it's just, look, I don't care what level you coach at. And there's a couple of things. If you are passionate and if you're committed to the cause and if you keep your eye on the prize, and I think if you truly care about your players, I think you're going to be successful, no matter the sport, no matter the level. I think again, if you're committed, if you care, and if you're passionate about your players, and Matt LaFleur is showing all of those traits. His post-game speech, I thought was tremendous. And again, a lot of love, a lot of passion in that locker room. And you just got a good sense, regardless of what happens long-term with this team, you got a good sense that the nucleus is pretty strong on this football team.
There was right at the end, if anybody didn't watch it too, because I know there's been some talk about Jair and such. I don't know if anybody saw Jair popping in right at the end, kind of doing a little breakdown there too.
Yep.
showing that leadership.
Yeah.
Trying to step up, because I know
Yeah,
there's
and
been questions about
Jair,
him.
I thought had a good bounce back game.
Yep.
I thought, and he, going back to the Philly game, Jair admitted some fundamental technique mistakes that he was making, especially on the touchdown to AJ Brown. And so, I look at again the nucleus of this locker room and where this team can go. And LaFleur said it in his post game speech that we're a damn good football team. We don't know where we're going to go, but if we stick together, we can go far. And I think that's a great message. And I think, again, you saw it with that team. You saw it with the collective of this team, the leadership of this team. And again, I think good things are to come for this Packer team, not only this year, but I think the nucleus is strong for years to come.
So Packers, they ran the ball a ton, over 50 carries, but they can't do that the whole game if their defense isn't playing up to
Right.
that level too.
Right.
And, you look at Jeff Hafley, with this week here too, and something that I was going to talk about before you popped in here is that, the sack numbers aren't up there.
Yep.
But you got Will Levis, who's been the most pressured quarterback so far in the first 2 weeks coming up here. But when you look at it and you look at the two quarterbacks they've faced, it seems like it's very disciplined, contained type of rush, because you've got Jalen Hurts, obviously, and Anthony Richardson using their legs. Is that the impression you're getting with this pass rush so far?
No question. Without question. And again, I think a lot of the complaints about Joe Barry, the players were always kind of brought in from a not doing their job standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I get it. If your job is to control a gap and you don't have discipline in that, yeah, other things fall apart. I understand that part of it, because it really is a chain reaction, especially from a defensive standpoint. But yeah, I think Green Bay has done a good job of getting pressure when they needed it and not really bringing more than 4.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're going after it with 4. Now, here's the flip side to that. People are talking about the pass rush not being there. Green Bay already has 5 interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
They had 7 all of last year. And so when you look at that, is there a correlation between what kind of defense the Packers are playing on the back end? And again, the sack numbers, I think, are going to come against different quarterbacks. And so you have to look at this defense as a whole. Sack numbers down, takeaways up.
Mm-hmm.
And so would you rather have the sack or would you rather have the pick? And so at this point, again, I think Hafley is doing a little bit of sacrificing one for the other.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just enough pressure on the interception, again, to Xavier McKinney. That was Devontae Wyatt and Quay Walker.
Mm-hmm.
And putting enough pressure to get in Anthony Richardson's face. And so, yeah, I think there's enough pressure, and you have to have controlled chaos when you've got quarterbacks like Hurts and Richardson. Because we've seen it before, Packer fans, where they're playing a lesser quarterback, but who can move. And it seems that they have very little discipline in their pass rush, in their pass rush lanes. And so, yeah, I'm not worried about the pass rush.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really, really pleased with the amount of takeaways and how aggressive the secondary is playing. And so, you flip that over and you say, well, they're not getting a pass rush. Yeah, but they're getting picks and they're getting turnovers. And so I see, again, it seemed with Joe Barry, he didn't adjust to the team. And I think you're seeing now in the first 2 weeks, and again, you and I talked about it, that the honeymoon period after that Philly game was very short with Hafley.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you're seeing, okay, he was able to do this. Anthony Richardson, arguably not a great quarterback yet. And so you say, okay, level of competition, et cetera, et cetera. And, the next, you got Levis, and then you got Sam Darnold the next 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You got 2 quarterbacks, in my opinion, who are more of that drop back style quarterback. And so we'll see what the defense does these next 2 weeks, but I'm expecting continued growth from this defense and from Hafley.
Yeah, there was I was rewatching it yesterday, and I noticed a couple times on obvious passing situations, he had all 4 edge rushers out there, and it was a unique one where he had Rashawn Gary and Van Ness in the middle, Kiki and Press on the outside, but it was stunts then after that.
Mm-hmm.
The edges would kind of crash down, and then coming up, Quay Walker was mixed in there too with the rush. So it's some creative, unique stuff that I think we're going to see a little bit more.
Well, and I think you and I talked about this when the hiring was announced. The ability for some of these guys who have been drafted by Green Bay to play traditional 3-4 outside backers, the ability for them to put their hand in the dirt and play in a 3-man, and I think that's going to pay dividends throughout the season because you don't know where somebody's lining up. You've got guys that have positional flexibility. And so, yeah, I think that's going to be one of the things you're going to look for is creative ways to bring guys from different positions and really finding what works for these guys. And also when you're doing that, you're mixing and matching the matchups. And so if you're saying, okay, this left guard on this team, we've scouted him. We know that he's not great on a bull rush. He doesn't anchor well. All right, so we're going to put somebody over him, like a Rashawn Gary, that's just really strong and can bring that bull rush. If we're going to go with, hey, this is a slow-footed right tackle, let's put Enagbare out there because of his quick first step. So, yeah, I think the ability to mix and match, I think will give OCs headaches. Now, again, this was one game, just like the Philly game, and that's why they call it Overreaction Monday. I don't want to crown Hafley yet. I don't want to say this is it, but he did a tremendous job, and you hit on a great point. Green Bay can't run the ball if that game is 10-10 or 7-7 or 14-14 or down.
Right.
If Green Bay gives up touchdowns early on and that game is more of a, all right, they're scoring, et cetera, I don't think you see the running game. And so, yeah, one plays off of the other. And Matt LaFleur said it. That's complementary football.
Right.
That's complementary football. That's what you want when you've got a defense that's coming after a team like that, not allowing drives, getting off the field, those types of things. And then you got an offense that's just starting to churn. Conversely, the Indianapolis Colt defense, they were getting tired. You could see it. And so, yeah, that was complementary football to the T. And that goes back to it. I thought, again, coordinators, LaFleur did a tremendous job.
2-to-1 time possession, 40 minutes for the Packers, 20 minutes for the Colts there.
Vince Lombardi just
run the daylight.
He's going to run it up the alley. I mean, that's what you saw in that football game. And if you break down tape, the offensive line did a tremendous job. And when you look at the amount of pressures that the offensive line, so now you go back to the passing game, only 14 passes, but still only 2 pressures from that offensive line. And they were both from Sean Ryan. Yeah. And so who is a better run blocker than he is a pass blocker. But again, I think it's just a matter of time before Jordan Morgan takes that position over. But yeah, I think you look collectively. And this goes back to, and LaFleur talked about, the offensive line had a bad practice on Wednesday, and he went up to them and said, look, guys, we're going to win this football game. It's on you. And so that's having that global perspective as a head coach saying, I got to talk to this positional group because I'm going to need them on Sunday. And again, Green Bay, all facets of the game came together. The biggest question mark right now is Narveson the guy? He misses another one late in the game that would have iced it. That would have put it out of reach. It would have made it I believe a 3-score game before they came back and scored that touchdown. So, yeah, I think that's probably still your question mark. Matt LaFleur said he loves the makeup of Narveson. So he didn't say it's different than Carlson, but if you read between the lines, you kind of assume that. Yeah. And so really right now, that's still your question mark on this football team.
One thing I hope we get to see is when Jordan Love does return, a lot of those formations, those misdirections, those motions, those plays, pistols or whatever, kind of get still implemented within this offense. Oh, I really hope LaFleur still continues to do that.
Going back to what you and I said when he was hired, towards the end of Mike McCarthy, and again, not beating a dead horse, Mike McCarthy relied on players to make plays, and he had them. Yeah. He had the players to make plays. Matt LaFleur's offense relies on the plays to make plays. And so, yeah, I totally agree. I think once Jordan Love comes back, I think the eye candy has to stay because I think that's such a part of a true Matt LaFleur offense. And that creates so many different matchups out there. And so, yeah, I totally agree. And speaking of that, I heard you talk about Rob Demovsky and what he said, that it was not a charade, that Jordan Love did not he wasn't ruled out until Saturday.
Yeah.
And there was a legitimate chance of him playing. And you talk about Malik Willis saying he didn't know he was starting until Saturday. And so, and again, I think there's some truth to that. So it's going to be interesting who plays this week against Tennessee.
Right. And you would think, because I think that was one mistake, and I'll say it again, Greg Olson is still the best color commentator in the business. There's no reason he should be a number 2 guy.
There,
It's not
you know what? If
close.
they want to continue to put the Packers with the number 2 Fox team,
Yeah.
I am A-okay with that. I have
Absolutely.
zero problem. Greg Olsen, and again, you know, my wife and I were watching the game, and she even commented, wow, he's really good. She doesn't like his hair. She said he's got weird hair, but he's really good. And yeah, I thought he was very insightful.
And I thought, you know, he was making a great point. He's like, did quite understand why the Colts wouldn't just oversell stopping the run,
Mhm.
which makes sense. Like, why wouldn't you do that? And that's going to be interesting if it is Malik Willis. Do the Titans do that in this game?
Yep.
And then how does Green Bay counter that a little bit? That's going to be the nice chess piece there. or chess match.
I've said all along, I think Jordan Love comes back for the Vikings.
Mhm.
But again, if he's cleared, there's no reason not to.
Right.
I mean, I think the Green Bay staff usually, from a medical standpoint, usually tends to be more conservative.
Mhm.
And so if he's cleared, there's no reason to
Mhm.
not start him.
Right.
Absolutely zero reason. So at this point, and like you said, it'll be interesting. Practice convenes tomorrow.
Yep.
We'll see if he's getting any reps at all.
Mhm.
That'll probably be huge news during the open part of the practice, that if Jordan Love's out there getting reps, there's probably a pretty good chance he might play on Sunday.
Right. One more before we let you go. Let's give a little bit more of a tip cap to Tucker Kraft. I mean, that dude, I think, is now displaying how well he could be as an overall tight end. Blocking, I mean, a lot of those runs is because of Tucker Kraft sealing the edge inside. I mean, he was motioning all across the place. Again, Greg Olsen, I think, was falling in love with Tucker Kraft in that game. But I mean, and then, you know, the receivers, I love Jayden Reed when he said after the game, he's like, Coach said, put on your blocking gloves this week.
Yep.
And to see the buy-in from everybody on that, just to me, you know, I keep using the comparison. I know it's not a great one, but you look at last year when the Jets, Aaron Rodgers goes
Yep.
down, you have a backup quarterback, and you kind of saw no buy-in,
Right.
no buy-in. Everybody bought in that game. And how can you not be pumped when you see something like that?
Oh, absolutely. And LaFleur has said it. You don't block, you don't get the rock.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so I love that. And Tucker Kraft, and again, the tight end position, you know, both my boys played tight end. It's my favorite position on the football field.
Mhm.
And you see Luke Musgrave, who in my opinion is a good football player. I'm not taking
Mhm.
anything away from Luke Musgrave, but I think he's also kind of a blown up wide receiver.
Mhm.
Tucker Kraft is a guy, and people don't remember this or don't think about this because Musgrave looked so athletic and ran at the combine so well and everything.
Mhm.
If you compare numbers between Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave, they're not that far off.
Right.
Yeah, as far as the 40s and the 10-yard splits and all these types of things, they're really not that far off. And I think people underestimated Tucker Kraft's athleticism. And there's no question he is TE number 1.
Mhm.
There's no question right now when you look at the snap counts. Now, do I think Luke Musgrave has a role on this team? Absolutely.
Right.
I love 12 personnel. I love it. I love it. I love it. I
Mhm.
would run that all the time if I had 2 tight ends like Kraft and Musgrave. But yeah, the other thing I want to add just real quick, Christian Watson, no catches.
Mhm.
The job he did blocking,
Yeah.
and putting him in motion and doing some crackback blocks and those types of things. Yeah, it was a team effort. And again, kind of going back to how we started and bringing it full circle, Matt LaFleur deserves a lot of credit for that football game. And I'm going to say this real quick about the Titan game. I'm going to hold off on my prediction.
Okay.
I'm going to give myself this allowance because we don't know about the quarterback situation.
Mhm.
I think last week we were pretty sure that Jordan Love wasn't going to play. Now again with Domofsky's, so I will post my prediction later in the week.
That's fair.
But I think giving me some time on this one, I need to see, is Jordan Love going to be the quarterback or Malik Willis?
Mhm. So essentially, it is if Jordan plays, Green Bay wins.
It's a win.
Yeah.
And you know what? It might still be a win if Malik Willis plays.
Mhm.
But you hit it on the head. They've got tape now.
Right.
No one knew what this offense was going to look like with Malik Willis.
Mhm.
So the chess game now goes through this week.
Yep.
But the Titans need to, now they've got tape. Now they've seen some of the eye candy. Now they've seen how does LaFleur adjust. And so, yeah, I think I don't know what happens if Malik Willis plays. I'll kind of chew on that matchup a little bit more, but I will tell you, if Jordan Love plays this week, Packers win.
Really quick too, before I let you go, somebody brought this up yesterday. When Jordan Love does return, do you still maybe incorporate something for Malik Willis in terms of Wildcat to
No.
use his legs?
No.
Okay.
No,
Mhm.
this is Jordan Love's team.
Yep.
I don't like bringing in. To
I
me,
agree.
you don't need it,
Mhm.
and so
Got too many other weapons, right?
that's
So,
it.
you know, yeah.
You're just don't overthink this.
Mhm.
And I said
Yep.
this last night in our game, and I told our quarterback at one point. I said, "Don't overthink this. We got 4 minutes left. We got a 4-point lead. Keep it. We're going to keep it very simple."
Mhm.
And that's what I think sometimes offensive play callers get into this. Well, this will work. I know it'll work. Their ego comes into play. Don't overthink this. And so, yeah, if Jordan Love comes back, there is no special Malik Willis package.
Yeah. That's where again, I know we had people kind of complaining about why didn't they go for, that touchdown before the half. Don't overthink it.
Don't overthink it.
And it was weird because I'm rereading When Pride Still Mattered, and I read the part that Saturday about how Lombardi did not like doing that.
Right.
Because it happened to him where it got screwed up. They scored,
Yep.
then they doubled up, and he never did it again.
Yep.
And it's like, Jordan Love's different.
Somebody at social media talked about, oh, this reminds me of when Holmgren would get conservative back in the day. I'm like, what, you mean Super Bowl winning?
I was going to say,
street named.
That seems like a compliment.
Yeah. Just, and again, fans are going to complain no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
They are going to complain no matter what. And so I've always just put it is what it is. You be you.
Yep.
Live your life. It's kind of like Keanu Reeves. That's where I'm at right now. It's like, look, I'm at that stage of my life where if you want to tell me 2 + 2 is 5, okay, have a nice day.
Yeah.
So
that's a good way to look at it. Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with my life right now. I'm way
Mhm.
too old. Look, if you want to complain about a 6-point win, I will buy you another beer and then I will leave.
There you go. That's a good mindset to have. I like that. All right, sir. Appreciate the time as always.
Always good, brother. Love it in here.
You got it. We're going to take a quick break. We'll have a couple minutes before the top of the hour, and then we'll talk some Badgers with RJ coming up next hour about 8:20. With hunting season in full bloom here too, with the bow season opening up this past weekend, if you're looking for somewhere to take your deer, if you're lucky enough to have gotten a deer and you're not sure where to take it to get it processed, Mike Star Market is your place to go. Just check them out on Facebook. They've got the prices listed up there, the different options, different types of products you can get, or you can stop on in too. You can stop on in and talk with Mike or Sarah or any member of their awesome staff over at Mike's Star Market here in Eau Claire. And speaking of hunting season too, if you're maybe eyeing up the November deer season, or maybe you got a youngster that's going to be taking part in some of the youth hunts here, but you need to upgrade that deer rifle of yours, our good friends at Tilden Gun is the place to go. You can check them out at tildengun.com. Check out what their selection up there. Or you can go visit Sean and Hunter at Tilden Gun too, located at 12427 9th Avenue in Chippewa Falls. All right, we'll do Grind My Gears coming up just past 8 o'clock because shot clock's going to cut me off here. So final call for anybody else who has some things that are grinding your gears this morning. Okay, hit me up with those text messages. 2 in already, baby. 2 in already. One more to go here. Badger fans, what's your outlook for the rest of the season? What's your expectation for the rest of the season? How are you viewing this? Hit me up. We're going to talk with RJ in about 20 minutes. We'll be back after these news updates. third and final hour on this Tuesday morning. What up, everybody? Appreciate you tuning in wherever, however you're tuning in. Join in on the convo for the final hour. Hit us up with some messages on that Shoe Doctors texting line, 715-830-1912. You can hit us up on the video stream as well. Twitter at DANKSPER, Facebook.com/Casper Sports over there. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we'll catch up with our good buddy, Mr. RJ Cardinal. We'll talk some Badgers with RJ. Van Dyke done for the year. Braden Locke. All right. What do we expect from him? He's got an off day or off week to prepare. So we'll talk to RJ about that. Badger fans, I want to hear from you. What's your expectations? How are you viewing this rest of the season after your first two games? You get wins, but maybe not as dominant as you'd like to see. Then you get blown out by Alabama at Camp Randall. So how do you view the rest of this season? So we'll talk to RJ about that coming up here in about 15 minutes or so. Let's do a little ASAP Used Auto Parts Grind My Gears Tuesday. Chappie's saying, grind my gears. Packers' lack of transparency with Jordan Love's status. I would assume the team and fans would want to know what his status is this week, I'm assuming you're saying over there. I think maybe the team may know a little bit better. I do wonder, though, if it's going to be a little less transparent this week, just to really try to throw off the Titans. Like, part of me feels like we're going to see Jordan get some snaps, maybe not a lot, but Malik also getting some snaps with the ones. And it's kind of thrown out there that Malik is still getting snaps with the ones to really kind of force Tennessee to prepare for both. Because I think it's fair to say that it's going to be two really different game plans. Maybe. I know they said last week the game plan wasn't going to change. If Jordan Love was in there, it was going to be a little bit, it was going to be a lot of runs and such. But maybe an extra week there. I feel like I personally, my gut tells me, and it could be completely wrong, that it might be a little bit more confusing this week. Just throwing that one out there. My grind my gears, I'm staying with the Pack. I'm going to go with penalties. Penalties at the beginning of these games here. I know it's only 2 weeks in. They actually got better in the second half of Sunday's game. But the penalties on big plays, negating touchdowns, negating first downs. And I know the counter argument is like, well, they only scored a touchdown, only got a first down because they were a penalty. And you're probably right in some instances there. But let's stop. I mean, come on. We gotta cool it down. And I know the NFL makes it a priority first couple weeks of the season to be kind of a flag fest out there to try to set the tone, and then they kind of ease it on back, which on one hand I understand that, to try to get everybody, into a rhythm in that. On the other hand, it's like, call it the same from week 1 to week 17. I get both sides. I understand both sides. I don't necessarily agree with either one of them, but just stop with the stupid penalties that negate big plays. Just stop. Please, clean it up. Got to clean up the penalties. Got to clean that stuff up. So after the first couple weeks here now, hopefully things will start to get a little bit better. Especially like on the offense, the holding penalties or something like that. And I know the old phrase is that there's holding on every play and such, but it was grinding my gears, especially at the beginning of that game. And it was really grinding my gears, obviously, I think, for everybody after that Philly game, but at the beginning of the game on Sunday. So, all right, that's my grind my gears. If you have any, we had a couple more here. Let me get to those here quick. This is from David. What's grinding my gears is still no love from National Peeps about Jackson Cheerio getting Rookie of the Year. This is another one here. This is from Tim. Tim saying, what's grinding my gears is Packers fans are still finding reasons to complain about the win on Sunday. One more, too. I forgot this one came in a little bit earlier. Chris saying, what's grinding my gears is the national media not giving enough love for the Brewers. Okay. All right. So we got a few different ones over there. Again, if you got something that's kind of bugging you or you got a pet peeve that's going on, it's time to get it off your chest with a little grind my gears action here this morning. As we talked about in the first hour, all first hour Brewers picking up that win last night against the Philadelphia Phillies. It's going to be a tough pitching matchup tonight with Zach Wheeler on the mound. And Zach Wheeler has been wheeling and dealing as of late. But Frankie Montas has been pitching fairly well too. So I think this is going to be, at least on paper, it sure looks like could be an interesting pitching matchup. Maybe not a lot of scoring, but how many times have we said that? And it's been like the 180. I'm going to talk it into an existence. Zach Wheeler's going to have an off day today. Off day tonight. He's going to have an off game tonight. It's gotta. He hasn't had an off game since July. All right, he's due. He didn't have one in the month of August. Hasn't had one so far in September. He's due to have an off game tonight. So I'll say it together. Zach Wheeler is going to have an off game tonight. Zach Wheeler is going to have an off game tonight. The Brewers will exploit that. The Brewers will exploit. Let's talk it into existence here. But you look at the numbers, and Zach Wheeler has been pretty dang good in his last 8 games going throughout the whole month of August and so far in September. So it is definitely going to be a big challenge for this Brewers offense to go up against him. And the thing is, too, like Zach Wheeler was talking a little bit about it in the first hour, but Zach Wheeler has been pretty darn efficient. I mean, he's gone in his last 8 games. He's been 6 innings or more, and he's only thrown over 100 pitches twice in that. So I feel like if you're the Brewers, you got to attack. You got to be aggressive. Try to get that pitch count up early on Zach Wheeler. And hopefully they can. Willie Adames has actually had his career numbers, double-digit at-bats. He's hitting 300 against Zach Wheeler, a little over 300. So maybe a Willie Adames night tonight. Who knows? But, last night's starting pitcher for the Brewers, Aaron Civale, I think this has kind of flown under the radar a bit, just how well he has pitched in his last 7 games. 5-0 in his last 7 games, a sub-3 ERA. You're talking in the 2s. I mean, Civale is we've talked about him and Frankie Montas and maybe Adele Hall. Those guys, we've talked about them trying to, maybe pitching here in these last few games, for an impression, maybe trying to be a part of that starting rotation and the playoff rotation, maybe in the, trying to make the playoff roster there. Going to be some interesting decisions coming up here when we get to that point in time, when we get to the postseason, and depending on, rest and wear and tear on a lot of these arms, how the Brewers will put together this pitching staff, this playoff pitching staff. Brewers can clinch the division tonight if they win and the Cubs lose to the A's. So it's not just a straight up Brewers win. Brewers have to win tonight, and the Cubs would have to lose tonight. Magic number is currently at a 2. So gotta imagine the Brewers would love nothing more than to, it's a t-shirt and hat game. Like to celebrate in their locker room and pop some of that champagne and get their new swag while they're at home. There's a good chance that's going to happen because, they just returned home yesterday and picked up that win. So they got from now until Sunday to wrap this thing up. You believe it? Next week is already the final week of the regular season. Final week of the regular season. Holy crap. That's insane. But we'll make our picks and predicts coming up at the back end of this hour. See if we pick the Brewers to get their t-shirt and caps tonight here. Twins, meanwhile, if we got any Twins fans listening, maybe starting to get a little bit nervous with where they're at in the standings. They're holding on to that final wild card spot right now. However, they're just 1.5 up on the Tigers, who picked up another win last night, or picked up another win. They're going up against. There's some really good matchups coming up here in the American League Central, going on in the American League Central, that could really affect some of these races here. So Cleveland's going up against Minnesota. Cleveland took down the Twins last night. You've got Kansas City going up against Detroit. Detroit's 1.5 back from Minnesota for that final wild card spot. They're at 78 wins. The Twins are at 79. Twins have 2 fewer losses. But elsewhere, you've got Seattle. That's 2 games back from a wild card spot. They're going up against the Yankees. The Yankees got a little bit of breathing room, about 3 games ahead of Baltimore right now. And then you got Houston, who's right now leading their division over Seattle. But Houston is going up against another potential playoff team in the Padres, who are holding on right now to that that top wild card spot. They're second in the NL West right now, 3.5 back from the Dodgers, trying to maybe put a little pressure on the Dodgers there. But you've got Houston versus San Diego that could, change some of the stuff in the standings. Seattle's 4 back from Houston for the division, so they're actually closer to getting into a wild card spot than they are to the division. But there's some really good games. If you're just a baseball fan in general, there's some really good games this week, especially when you look at the American League schedule. I mean, you're looking at potentially every playoff team right now, or a team that's within striking distance, like a really good striking distance, are going up against another playoff team. Yankees, Seattle, just outside. Cleveland, Minnesota, Houston, Padres, Baltimore, San Francisco, Kansas City, Detroit, as we mentioned, Minnesota, Cleveland, and such. National League, I mean, obviously we've got Brewers and the Phillies going on right now. Dodgers going up against Miami right now. But I think, outside of what the Brewers are doing in this Brewers chase to not only win a division, but to get one of those top 2 seeds over there, kind of eyeing up that final wild card one too. Who's it going to be? The Mets and the Braves. And Brewers fans got to pay attention to this too. I'm sure we're probably going to get into next week. Unless the Brewers really kind of put themselves in a spot where they could maybe get a bye here. And they could. There's no doubt they could. But we may be having this discussion. Who would you rather face, the Mets or the Braves? Because if the Brewers do finish as that 3rd seed, they're going to be playing either the Mets or the Braves. And they play the Mets in that final series of this season in Milwaukee. So it'll be interesting when we get to this point next week to see where the standings are. And as we inch closer to that final regular season series, if the Brewers have the 3 seed locked up and they can't improve, well, they may just throw out a bunch of pitchers who aren't probably going to pitch in the postseason and rest some of their guys. So they're ready for the postseason. Mets, I got to imagine, are still going to be playing for something at that point, assuming the Mets and Braves are still, tied up there. But Mets might just be staying in town after that and going up and preparing for their playoff series against the Brewers. So a lot of interesting stuff coming down the wire. A lot of good baseball coming down the wire here too. All right, let's take a quick break here. And then we're going to switch gears here a little bit. We're going to talk some college football, talk some Badger football. I know we want to move on from that loss to Alabama, that shellacking from Alabama. But now, got a new quarterback, got a bye week here. You got USC coming up next week here. But Badger fans, how are you viewing the rest of the season now? What's your outlook for the rest of the season? Outside of, obviously, we all want wins and such, right? Let's talk to RJ Cardinal about this Badger football team. All right, let's take a quick break here. Maybe, if my computer allows me to. So we'll take a quick break, and then we'll talk some college football. RJ Cardinal coming up after these quick words.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Pain from arthritis is just awful. Bone on bone, constant pain. It robs you of so much of the stuff you love to do. But there are effective ways to deal with that pain. Not talking about drugs or surgery. Listen, there are exciting new cellular therapies that can get you lasting relief. And the place to go? QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics uses cutting-edge treatments that accelerate your own body's healing properties, revitalizing your joints so you can move again. If you're living with chronic pain from arthritis or injury, you need to know steroids and surgery and pain pills are no longer your only option. Learn how QC Kinetics can use advanced regenerative medicine to treat the pain, enhance your joints, restore your mobility, and give you long-term relief with no downtime. The local medical professionals at QC Kinetics are ready to help you get your life back with regenerative, restorative cellular treatments for your achy joints. This is the future of medicine. Call for a free consultation now. 715-443-4440. 715-443-4440. 715-443-4440. Get ready to rock with Boogie and the Yo-Yos on Saturday, October 19th for the annual Rock the Dome for the Y at Loopy's in Chippewa Falls. A $60 VIP ticket covers your admission, beer, wine, soda, and heavy appetizers from 6 to 7. General admission tickets are just $25. And doors open at 7, with Boogie and the Yo-Yos at 8. Proceeds provide sponsored memberships to individuals and families who need financial assistance at the Y. This is the last time you'll get a chance to see Boogie and the Yo-Yos in the Chippewa Valley this year. Get your tickets online at ymca-cv.org/events.
He's smart, informed, entertaining, and he knows his sports. In other words, he's the kind of guy I'd like to settle down with in a small, cozy cabin in the woods. That is, if he was a woman with a case of cold ones. The Dan Casper Show, weekday mornings from 6 to 9.
Tailgating season is in full swing, and if you need some supplies, whether it's items to put up on the grill, maybe some snacks to munch on during the game or pregame, or maybe you just need some new apparel to represent your favorite teams, whether it's from the pro, the colleges, or the high school levels, Hy-Vee in Eau Claire has the hookup from all of the stuff that you can put on the grills to snacks or to their sports shop over there. You're going to get some Packer stuff, some Brewer stuff, some Badger stuff, some Blue Gold stuff, or items to represent local high schools. They got that over there too. So go grab some Dan Good burgers, fire up the grills, and open up some man cave lights and enjoy tailgating season this year. All right, let's talk some Badgers. I know we have to maybe mention that game on Saturday. RJ Cardinal is joining us here this morning. So, RJ, I don't know how else to bring up Saturday, but I mean, it was, as Luke Fickell said, got your butts whooped over there. I mean, obviously the Van Dyke injury now, I got to imagine that changed quite a bit in the offensive game plan.
Well, according to the offensive coordinator, it shouldn't have, because they were 1A and 1B. And the game I watched definitely told me it was the number one quarterback went down and your number 3 quarterback ended up playing, even though he was number 2. Guy completed 50% of his passes on Saturday. He completed 50% of his passes last year. That's not going to win you many ball games.
Right.
Started out, whether he was nervous or whatnot, throwing at people's feet. Had some good-looking passes a little later in the game that were just out of the reach of receivers. Well, that's that. You gave Alabama a short field twice with some fumbles. A short field with a 10-yard punt. Didn't do yourself any favors after that. Yeah, I mean, the only thing you really won on Saturday was time of possession. And yet you still couldn't limit their scoring. Your defense gave up a 73 yards in 17 seconds. And I think style of offense they're trying to run is to limit their defense being on the field, and it was something we talked about when Tressel came along. Will the 3-3-5 ever really work in the Big Ten? I mean, some could argue that that's kind of what Wisconsin was running anyway the past few years, not necessarily being a 3-4. I mean, they definitely weren't 3-3-5. They still had maybe, two down linemen, move a guy to linebacker, and have a kind of or a hybrid safety in there, but like a guy who's gonna be good enough to be able to rush a passer. Don't have that. So yeah, it's like we were talking about, the running game of Alabama was able to gash the Badgers, and then when you look at the passing game, they had a good mix of being able to kind of guess when the Badgers were going to be trying to rush the passer and either get to the outside and Jalen Milroe could get to the edge faster than anybody else, or he was able to dump it off for some good chunk yardage.
So RJ, let me ask you, what has been most disappointing or maybe most frustrating for you these first 3 games of the season? Has it been the offense or has it been the defensive play so far?
It's been the fact there has been no progress from last year anywhere, maybe even a regression.
Mm.
And that is, and everybody says, well, wait till he gets his guys in. Well, over 50% of the roster now is transfers and their recruiting class. So if their guys are here, why aren't they playing them? And why, if we are playing them, why don't they seem better developed over last year? That leads me to believe you do not have a good coaching staff. So, yeah, I mean, you can say the cupboards were bare when they got here. They really weren't to where Wisconsin had them in the past few seasons prior to 2022. But you're still playing those guys, and you've brought other people in. So what's that tell you about the people you're bringing in?
Mm-hmm.
Either your coaching staff that got Cincinnati up to where it was and got Sauce Gardner to the pros. Where's the development? And if it's not there, coaches have to go. It's not really on the players at that point because you brought them in. If you saw something in them, there should be something to tell you that they should be better than they are.
So, one of the questions I think a lot of us had, and I know I asked Colton Bartholomew this last week, but, the first 2 weeks, the question has been, okay, are they opening up the playbook? Are they holding anything? We'll find out against Alabama and such. Did that get answered in that Alabama game that maybe they weren't really holding on to anything? If they were, those plays weren't working the greatest either at that point.
Even on that first field goal drive, I can't say I saw anything that looked different, it was just execution, I guess. And I mean, the first drive looked all right. Sure, you would have liked to have seen them get a little closer and get that touchdown. But yeah, from the first drive, then stopping Alabama on their first drive, it looked like it was going to be a competitive game. And who knows, maybe people got down on themselves after Tyler Van Dyke went out and, had to do some adjusting there. But, you still won in time of possession, so you held onto the ball for a long time. It's just you were going up against a better team. And I think most people thought that. I mean, what I say on last Tuesday, I thought it was going to be 42-17, I think I said.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was pretty darn close. I just got a little too optimistic for Wisconsin, I guess. So it's not so mad about an overreaction to a single game. It's the fact that we haven't seen any improvement. And the fact now you have two different factions of what have we been sold here? Like it's like we were given snake oil, and the people who are like, well, he needs time to get his guys in here. Well, in the transfer portal era, you should be able to get your guys in here a lot quicker. And I mean, there's like 10 or 11 spots across the two deep that are transfer portal and his guys. So if more of his guys can't break the two deep, I mean, at that point, what's going on here? Or why aren't you playing the younger guys if they're supposed to be the better ones? It's really a quandary of what is going on internally here that isn't clicking.
So Braden Locke going to be the guy. He's got an off week to kind of help prepare. What should we know, or what should we expect from what you know? What type of quarterback is Braden Locke, or what are the expectations of him? You know, kind of coming in here as a recruit initially.
I mean, he had a great mind. He played under 1 year under Mike Leach at Mississippi State in a true air raid, so he was familiar and knew of Longo. And like I said, when they came for a visit, they sat down and watched film and just crushed it for like 2 hours when it was supposed to be a half-hour meeting. So he's smart. He knows football. At this point, we just need to see the execution. And hitting 50% of your passes is not it. So it's there. I mean, everything from high school and things like that, he's got the football intelligence to be a good quarterback. We just now need to see it after his games last year, coming up in mop-up duty versus Iowa, because Mordecai went down, and then the next couple of games there, and now this one. And yeah, sure, getting thrown in to a game can be pretty difficult, but it's one of those you need to see the vast improvement from being only getting 50% of your passes completed. And if that doesn't happen, you're not going to be winning a lot of football games.
RJ Cardinal, our Badger analyst, joining us here this morning. Would you expect, I mean, that may be wishful thinking here, but would you expect with the new quarterback, sometimes we see it, I mean, we saw it with Green Bay, right? Different game plans and that sort of stuff. Would you expect, or maybe hope is probably the best word, something different, in terms of their identity on offense, I guess?
I'm not too sure, because it seems like there's an identity struggle between the offensive coordinator and the head coach right now. After the game, Fickle even said, "I wish we would have ran the ball more." I mean, you ran it 41 times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the only other way you could have done it is just scrap the passing game altogether and made yourself one-dimensional, which I really feel Alabama tried to do, because they, just like our first two games, they weren't playing too deep. They knew the ball wasn't coming, and a couple of times when the ball did go over the top, they were nice passes that beat them, and it almost seemed like the receivers were more taken aback by the ball went past 10 yards, overall, I mean, you just got to see something. If something's working, there's no point in going away from it. We've talked about it before. Paul Chryst used to run the same play 4, 5, 6 times in a row out of different formations, and it worked every time because he knew the opponent couldn't stop it. If something's working, really, I don't think anything was working Saturday. So yeah, I can understand going to and from passing and running and all that kind of stuff, but consistency, not changing things up for the sake of, whoa, they might stop it. Well, if they stop it, then you change things up. Until they stop it, you don't have to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I just need to see consistency, because right now there's none. And that was pretty evident in the first two games. The talent gap in this one, I think, caused it to be non-existent. And yeah, it's it's just not good football to watch.
So with that, we've got 3 weeks in. We know what happened the first 2 weeks. Obviously, we know what happened this past Saturday. Got the bye week here. You got USC. Got to go to USC there. What should be the outlook? What should be the expectation now for Badger fans the rest of the season? Outside, we all want wins in that. But what
Yeah.
should be our expectations, or what should we be looking for, I guess, in for the rest of the season at this point?
Well, I'm not sure how we're going to stop Nebraska's offense, because that's looking pretty good right now, and we don't have a defense to speak of. I mean, chalk up losses to USC, Penn State, Oregon, and Nebraska right now. So there's 4 more losses on your schedule. Purdue just got waxed. So who knows what's going on with them. I still don't buy into Rutgers. Sure, they have a good rushing game, and they've played some not great teams that have helped out their defense. But yeah, watching their quarterback play, it's not good. But I mean, they could probably run. I think they have the top rushing attack in the country right now. They could probably beat Wisconsin. Northwestern is Northwestern. I mean, you're not playing at Ryan Field, but somehow we always have trouble with Northwestern. And I mean, so far, they're only Power 5 program. They lost by 6 points too. We'll see what happens when they play. I think Washington this week, who just got beat by a group of 5 technically school pretty soon. Iowa, I mean, they change in the middle of a game now, and who really knows with the Gophers either. So, I mean, it became something where you could see 6 to 7 wins to now even, and it's not solely based on this one Alabama game. I mean, I didn't think we had a chance of winning it at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the fact, and so many people now, well, he's only had 16 games. Okay, what have you seen improve in 16 games? And then come the excuses of, well, they're not his players. Well, he's had 2 recruiting cycles now, and two times of bringing in transfer students. Like, when are his guys going to get here?
Mm-hmm.
And until you got to give him a full roster, so we got to go until 2026. He's going to have a full roster of guys that are just his, and that's going to make the difference. Like, I don't get it, and I'm not saying he needs to be fired. I'm not saying anything like that. I think the coaches are lacking in the development ability. Maybe look into getting new coaches. I don't know how good of friends he and Tressel are, but I don't think he's a good defensive coordinator. Like, his in-game strategy is not good. And I mean, that's pretty evident when you're in games against Western Michigan and South Dakota for 4 quarters. And yeah, it's a bleak outlook the rest of the year right now. And whether you're in the camp of, oh, it'll be okay, we just got to wait a couple of years like Nebraska had for the last 20 years, congratulations. We're in year 2 of that then, and we're not going to be back until 2030 something. That's where we are, or if you're in the camp of something needs to change drastically right now or else we're going to be doomed, at least you got a little self-awareness. But if you think giving it more years is going to be okay, chances are you're going to be the one complaining when we're letting go of a coach and trying to find a new one and say, this is going to be the guy this time.
Yeah. Have you, have you had this feeling before when it's come to this Badger football team? This kind of bleak outlook or how you kind of feel like now. Have you ever had that feeling before when it's come to this team?
No, I have not. Like, this is the first time I can remember thinking we're headed down a spiral here and we're going to have people pointing at us saying, you're just remembering the good times. like Nebraska has for the last few years. And we didn't have the good times Nebraska did. We don't have the national championships. We have some New Year's Day 6 bowl wins and all that kind of stuff. And there's people who seem to forget Paul Chryst took us to that. Brett Bielema took us to that. You had a little dip in there with a guy who wanted to change the identity of Wisconsin and was basically told to leave. Right now, you have a guy who even admitted, I came in here and had an outside perception of Wisconsin, but I didn't really know. And it seems like he still doesn't know right now. But we'll see if somebody can talk to him. Maybe the AD who played here,
Yeah.
And didn't want to hire somebody who knew the culture and wanted to make a big splash. Well, right now, your best hire so far as an AD is the men's hockey coach, and if that's your claim to fame, your university chancellor is probably going to be letting you go when people don't renew their tickets moving forward, because I don't think we have the boosters that Nebraska does to buy all the tickets that nobody else buys and can continue a sellout streak that is a farce.
RJ bringing it this morning, man. I love it. I love the passion, buddy. All right. Well, what are you going to do on the bye week? Regroup? You going to USC next week?
Yeah, I am.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'll be leaving Wednesday, heading down to Chicago to meet up some buddies, and then heading out, spending the day down there, then heading out to LA Friday. Depending on how games work, we're gonna try to go to the Badger game and then get to Pasadena for the Oregon UCLA game.
Ooh.
Then Sunday we have tickets for Chargers Chiefs, so it'll be a nice football weekend.
That's a hell of a football weekend, man.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So two games guaranteed, maybe 3. We'll see.
That's awesome. Living it up, man. I love it. All right, dude. Hey, we appreciate the time as always. Enjoy the rest of your week, buddy. And before you fly out, we'll talk with you next week. Okay.
Sounds good. We'll talk to you then.
You got it. There you go. RJ Cardinal, Mr. Football Man himself, joining us here this morning. We got to take a quick break. Let me take that quick break here first. Come on, computer. There we go. All right. Picks and predicts coming up after these quick words. Don't forget, outdoors people, we've got that quest going on right now. The Ultimate Wisconsin Outdoorsman Quest. Adults and kids. Head to our website, sportstalk1051.com for more details and to start checking off some items on that checklist. And you could potentially be crowned the ultimate Wisconsin outdoorsman. Oh yeah. All right. Let's do some picks and predicts here. Brought to you by the Elbow Room. First off, quick look at our Pro Football Weekly Pick'em Challenge on our website. I gotta do a little trash talking to my buddy Garrett right now. Because I know Garrett's like he's defended champ and such right now, but might have to screenshot this because this is the one time I might be ahead of him in some picks. Lone wolf right here, number one right now. But if you haven't gotten your picks in for our Pro Football Weekly Pick'em Challenge, get to our website because we got games in a couple days. All right, we got games in a couple days over there. Thursday night, got Jets and Patriots. Aaron Rodgers on Thursday Night Football. But I got myself at 23. We got a couple of you sitting there at 22, Ed and James, and a big group. A few of you, I should say big group, but a few of you, Jolene, Scotty's, Garrett, just a couple back, and then a few more of you tied for fourth with 20 correct picks over there. But 1 week can make all of the difference. So get your picks in by visiting our website, sportstalk1051.com. Let's do some baseball picks here. Man, we got some. I know I was saying this earlier, but we got a few really good matchups here in the baseball world. So, before we do the Brewers one here, let's do some other ones here. We'll go Twins and the Guardians. Guardians picking up that 4-3 win last night. I'll go Cleveland. I'm gonna go with Cleveland right now. I'm gonna try to pick some potential playoff implicating series. Atlanta at Cincinnati. I'll go with the Braves. Let's go Washington at the Mets. I'll go with the Mets. Detroit at Kansas City. Detroit picking up a 7-6 win yesterday, making things really close in that AL Central in the wild card chase. I'll go with Kansas City bouncing back to get the win tonight. Let's go Arizona at Colorado. I'll go with the Diamondbacks. Houston at the Padres. San Diego picked up a 3-1 win last night. Hunter Brown versus Michael King. I'm going to go Houston tonight. The Yankees taking on the Mariners. Let's go, and that's on the West Coast. Let's go with the Yankees, though. And then tonight, potentially, could we secure a division tonight? Magic number for the Brewers is at 2. Magic number is at 2. Need a Brewers win and a Cubs loss. Don't think it'll happen tonight. I'm gonna go with the Cubs winning tonight. And I'm going to keep going with this because it's working. I'm picking against the Brewers because every time I pick against the Brewers, it feels like they win. It happened yesterday, so let's do it today. I'll go Philadelphia with Zach Wheeler on the mound, picking up the win and just extending the inevitable. Brewers will wrap up this division at some point this week. They'll clinch it. They'll get that playoff spot, but I predict it won't happen tonight. All right, those are your picks and predicts. Brought to you by the Elbow Room, located right next to the Banbury Place in Eau Claire. Looking for somewhere to catch some of these games, catch some of the ball games, football, baseball, whatever the case may be, head on over to the Elbow Room. Also, a reminder on Friday, we got Oktoberfest going on in Chippewa Falls, right? Oktoberfest going on in Chippewa Falls. We're going to be doing a podcast. We're going to take the mobile man cave out and do a podcast. Over at the Blue Marble Pub. Going to be doing some breakfast and such over there. So if you want to stop by, say hi, grab some breakfast, go ahead and do so. But Brandon and I are also going to do a little, we're going to bust out the grill, the Mobile Man Cave grill, and do some grilling with some Mike Star Market brats over there too. So do a little taste test in between Brandon and myself. But big thanks to our Mobile Man Cave partners, the Elbow Room, Carpet City Flooring Center, Toyson Ford. Big shout out again to Toyson Ford, taking care of the mobile man cave last week. They picked it up, checked her over, all that good stuff, checked out the brakes and that, making sure we were good to hit the road this fall and this winter here for some projects coming up. That's all I'll say right now. But big thanks to Toyson Ford over there too. And Woods and Water Realty, our other partners for the mobile man cave over there. Also, want to give a shout out to VFW Post 305, our partners at the VFW Post 305. If you're looking for somewhere for some breakfast, I again cannot recommend enough the taco omelets. I wish they would be ready to go at like 4 o'clock when I'm on the road. Grab one on the way here, but I get it. I understand it, guys. But if you're looking for somewhere maybe to grab some breakfast and such too, or lunch, dinner, Friday fish fries, check out the VFW Post 305, Star Avenue. Can't beat that view with the river over there too. So, and plus, if you're looking somewhere to hold some events, my wife actually, when Hudson was getting ready to be born, had her baby shower at the VFW Post 305 over 7 years ago now. So, but awesome people over there too. They'll help you out over there, set everything up. All right, good stuff today. Big thanks to everybody who texted in, chimed in. Little grind my gears Tuesday. Also, we did a little analyze that new thing that we're gonna try to do every Tuesday. All right, every Tuesday we're gonna try to do a little bit of that. Wednesday, so we got something new planned up for every day now. Gotta do some new stuff, right? We're gonna do a little thing like I like to call tomorrow midweek adjustments. Okay, midweek adjustments. We're halfway through the work week. We're at halftime, right? We're putting everything back in the rear view mirror from this past weekend. We're on to week 3 with the football season. All right, we're going to make some adjustments here. Explain more a little bit tomorrow, but I'll just throw this question out to you. Whether it was the Brewers, whether it's the Badgers, whether it's the Packers or the Twins or whoever your favorite team is, think about this for a little bit for tomorrow. If you can make one adjustment right now, whether it's to a coaching staff, whether it's to a starter, playing time, this, that, the other thing, what would that adjustment be? We always talk about adjustments in sports. Defensive coordinators got to make that adjustment at halftime. Or, they got to adjust their rotation. They got to adjust their bullpen. We always throw that word adjustments out there when it comes to sports. So we might as well incorporate a little segment called midweek adjustments coming up starting tomorrow. We'll also do a little business of sports. Hopefully we're talking about, it would be awesome if we're talking about Brewers division tomorrow morning. Brewers winning a division championship. That'd be freaking awesome. So we'll see. Or maybe they get a little bit closer depending on some outcomes and such. But, we'll see how it all plays out. Hit that up. Packers will return to practice tomorrow, and maybe that's maybe we'll get a little bit of a glimpse, a little bit of an insight into whether Jordan Love will actually play this weekend against the Titans, who are desperate for a win. Coach Callahan over there, rookie coach, desperate for his first win. They've been close the first couple games, kind of let the Bears off the hook in a battle with the Jets this past week. So just because the Titans are 0-2, you look at those games, that could still be a tough game for Green Bay to go on the road and face Tennessee. So don't look ahead to Minnesota the following week. All right, this is going to be a tough one coming up against Tennessee this weekend. But we'll get our first glimpse of, and maybe Marshawn Lloyd. I know he got an ankle injury. We'll see what his status is going to be. Same with Jordan Morgan, who had to leave the game due to a shoulder injury too on Sunday. So, but. All right, shot clock's going to cut me off right there. See? Called it. DP and the Danettes, they're up next. Big thanks for tuning in. Don't forget, if you haven't subscribed yet to the Man Cave podcast brought to you by Hy-Vee and Toyson Ford, go do that wherever you listen to your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, everywhere. And if you could, 5-star rating, positive review so others can find it too. That's just how the internet works. Have a good Tuesday. We'll be back at it tomorrow morning.